The Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka is largely an opinion talk show. All opinions, comments, or statements of fact expressed by Gwilda Wiyaka's guests are strictly their own and are not to be construed as those of the Science of Magic or endorsed in any manner by Gwilda Wiyaka, Relmar McConnell Media Company, its affiliated networks, stations, or employees. Welcome to the Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, a program dedicated to uncovering the unified nature of reality and humanity's ever-evolving place as truly galactic beings. For more information on the Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, visit us online at www.thescienceofmagic.net.
Welcome to the Science of Magic, a place where science and magic come together to transform fact into evolving truth. We can be found on our website, www.thescienceofmagic.net. I'm your host, Gwilda Wiyaka. This hour we'll be exploring practical shamanism. Shamanism has been around for millennia in almost every culture on the planet. Yet to this day it's greatly misunderstood. As viewed by anthropologists from the outside, it often appears as a magical, mystical practice involving a fair amount of theatrics and sleight of hand. Even in tribal communities, the shaman are considered unknowable, individuals that walk with one foot in our world and the other foot in spirit. While they may be revered and consulted for guidance, they're also met with a certain amount of fear. Many consider shaman half-mad, talking to unseen spirits and wielding spiritual power unavailable to the average person. Yet the practice is so accurate and profound, it's survived for over 50,000 years and is used to this day as a divinational tool and healing modality. While true shamans are masters of a form every bit as complicated and involved as medical science, some of the shamanic skills they employ can be learned and used by the average person. My personal definition of shamanism is an organized set of rituals that enables the practitioner to access matter at the quantum level. Through learning the shamanic journey trance, virtually anyone can access the quantum level and obtain inside information about what's forming there. If we can see what's taking shape at the crucible of creation, we can choose how to interact with upcoming events and opportunities. The quantum level is where the matrices of future realities form. If we can access and accurately interpret the information at the quantum level, we can not only be precognizant, but direct our intention and energies to effect change in what we are personally creating. Shamanism also operates out of time and space. Every frequency that has ever existed can be accessed by a trained practitioner. We can contact both our ancestors and our descendants. We can also access loved ones that have crossed. This is the basis behind mediumship. Even those with no prior skill or training as a medium can access people on the other side by acquiring minimal shamanic training. One of the keys behind a successful shamanic practice is an interpretation of the shamanic metaphor. The information at the quantum level is obscure at best, simply particles and waveforms. Our brains can't make sense of the raw information found there. This is where imagination and metaphor come into play. Through the shamanic journey, a measurable altered state of consciousness, we can paint a metaphoric representation of the activity found at the quantum level. The challenge is in interpretation. Accurate decoding of the shamanic journey is a true art form for sure. Nonetheless, it's one that can be learned. Another requirement of embracing the shamanic journey skill is the willingness to reframe the way we view reality. We've all been brought up restricting our concepts to those found in physicality. Even our perception of physical reality is limited to what we can pick up with the very narrow band of awareness the five senses afford. Through mastering the shamanic journey, one's privy to an entirely new universe of perception. The new information can have a profound effect on how we view reality and our place in it. If we're unwilling or unable to embrace and incorporate the new information into our belief systems, our understanding will be limited. Journey information is also evolving. As we examine the metaphors from different angles and are willing to expand our consciousness, meaning evolves also. Through mastering the basic shamanic journey, you can find your spirit guides, power animals, visit lost loved ones, and obtain information to help make informed decisions. By developing personal shamanic practice, you can rejoin the circle of life, cooperate with and be supported by natural law, heal, and evolve. Yes, there is a learning curve, but it is life-changing. If, however, you don't want to change, it's a skill best left to others. Our guest this hour, Dr. Susan Allison, author of You Don't Have to Die to Go to Heaven, is a nonfiction writer, poet, and author of 5 books. She has advanced degrees in English, history, and psychology, and has been trained in hypnotherapy and energy medicine. Susan is an ordained minister and a songwriter. She's a transpersonal psychologist in private practice using shamanic journey, hypnosis, process therapy, and energy medicine to help her clients heal and to transform. After this short break, I'll introduce Susan, and together we'll discuss practical applications of shamanism that anyone can use in their daily lives. You're listening to The Science of Magic. Prior innovative episodes can always be found on our website, www.thescienceofmagic.net. The scientist and the mystic have been on an age-old, relentless search with one thing in common. They seek truth. Their paths converge in the 40,000-year-old practice of shamanism, an ancient science delving to the quantum level of life, facilitating healing, manifestation, and evolution. I'm Gwilda Wiyaka, the founder and director of Path Home Shamanic Arts School, a unique Colorado State certified occupational school training shamanic practitioners and teachers. We also provide classes for empowering personal lives through shamanism. Our certification classes are in week-long segments enabling international participation, and online classes and long-distance shamanic healing sessions are available. Come discover the science of magic in the limitless world of shamanism. www.findyourpathhome.com. Welcome back. This is The Science of Magic, dedicated to unification and evolution of consciousness. I'm your host, Gwilda Wiyaka. Our guest this hour is Dr. Susan Allison, a nonfiction writer and poet, and the author of many fine books, including You Don't Have to Die to Go to Heaven. Her website, www.drsusanallison.com, drsusanallison.com. Susan, thank you for joining us on The Science of Magic.
Oh, Gwilda, thanks so much.
What drew you to shamanism?
Oh my gosh, 13 minutes is all we have, huh? It's for like all of us, it's kind of a long journey, and it even goes back to childhood where I had some kind of, and it was energy medicine. I didn't know then. Had power in my hands. I could heal animals. I'd put my hands on my parents, and I could heal headaches, and my dad had an ulcer, and the pain would go away. And so I had something going on within me, even as like a 10-year-old. I used to sit in the top of my tree fort and talk to stars, and I had visitations from angels. And so all this was happening as a child, but as I became an adolescent and found boys, and all of that comes with it, I sort of forgot and I lost it. And it was, the death of my father and my mother having sort of, a car accident, and there were just a series of things over and over that caused me to search more deeply for answers and ways to help people, ways to be of service. And, I did a vision quest that same year that I found shamanic journey work, and it was 23 years ago that I did my first work in shamanism. But it was really to find answers to my own life questions and about the passing of people and wanting to be in contact with them, wanting to help my family, etc. I was a teacher then, helping my students. So it was a combination that drew me, and my first workshop was with someone who had studied with Michael Harner, and I feel he was sort of the father of sort of lay person's shamanism, and I did work with him. But what drew me was a personal search, really.
Nice. Yeah, I'm familiar with Michael Harner's work, and
Yeah.
it's not commonly known, but he was actually an anthropologist.
That's right.
Went around the world, subjecting himself to Lord only knows what to learn various practices.
Yep.
Then he kept only what they all had in common and created what he called the core practice. And it's very effective.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. Exactly right. I really liked his work, and went on to study with four shamans altogether, and probably resonated the most with Hank Wesselman's work, who teaches Hawaiian shamanism, and Alberto Villoldo and I have become colleagues and friends, and I love his Four Winds approach to shamanism too. And I really, Hank Wesselman says not to call yourself a shaman unless you have been designated by a tribe, you have been given the honor, you are the tribe's shaman or your community's shaman. He said we call ourselves shamanic practitioners, which I always believed, but Alberto really calls many of us modern shaman. Particularly here I am in the field of psychology, no surprise, and now feel comfortable saying I'm a modern shaman. So I appreciate Alberto's work that he does, mainly at Omega on the East Coast, sort of training what he calls modern shaman.
Very nice, and there's certainly a need for them, isn't there?
I'll say.
Yeah. Would you mind defining shamanism for us?
You defined it in the first segment, but I just from my research, shamanism is at least 60,000 years old, and it's a way of using divination, using trance work, answer from the spirit world, from something that's non-material, and bring back that answer to help others. It's always about service, and so it's to heal someone of illness. It's to help the tribe find a new place to hunt. It's always in service, and of course there are shamans who have used their ability for not for good, but for their own egos and their own gain, and we've heard lots of stories about that. But it's an ancient practice of going into trance, usually listening to a drum or a rattle, being able to go, now we know, into a brain state that's theta, very deep brain state, being able to, what many shamans call spirit travel, to other dimensions of reality, and then bring back information to the tribe. And so that's more about the shaman, but that's sort of what I focus.
So what do you see as the modern day application of shamanism?
Lots of applications. I use shamanic work with almost all my clients now. I'm a transpersonal psychologist in private practice here in Santa Cruz, California, and what I do is I teach people to, and this is true in my book, teach people to go into trance and to journey, not just journey to other realms, journey to spirit realms. In shamanism, they have been mapping this cosmology, as I said, for 60,000 years. There's a lower world, a middle world, and an upper world. But not only do I help people go there and bring back information to change their lives now, but I teach them how to journey into their own bodies and to heal themselves of illness. And this is a prior book called Empowered Healer that people can get on Amazon or in their bookstores. But this is to allow people to be empowered to heal themselves by using shamanic journey, self-hypnosis, process therapy, and energy medicine to go in and really do shamanic extractions to extract the tumor, to extract the negativity or the emotion that's not serving them. So it allows people to use shamanic practice in their daily.
Okay. Seems like we might have lost our guest.
No, I'm here.
Oh, okay. You can continue. I just couldn't hear you anymore.
Oh, no, I'm here. So that's the practical application of shamanic work is in self-healing, it's in divination, and the reason I wrote You Don't Have to Die to Go to Heaven is that we don't have to wait until we have a near-death experience or die to be able to go to spirit realms and to be able to bring back information to change our lives now, rather than waiting till there's this crisis and we nearly leave the planet and we no longer are embodied. This allows, shamanic work allows people to be able to do it now and to bring back information from guides, teachers, ancestors, departed loved ones, and so on, and be able to change what's not serving them right now on the planet.
Can people expect to become a shaman by reading your book?
I don't think my goal is to turn everyone into a shaman, but I really do believe that each person, my goal in all my books has been to empower the reader, rather than my telling you what to do. And that's why I have some objection to some of the books, like Proof of Heaven. A lot of the books where people have a near-death experience and they go to heaven, or they go and they tell us what it's like, or they tell us what to expect about all of it. It's really, really individual, Gwilda, and it's your particular experience. And so I think that people reading my book, it'll help them be empowered to be able to do this journey work on their own, whether they choose to be a shamanic practitioner or a modern shaman. That's their choice, but I feel it's a personal journey that can change their life. It can change the lives of those around them, professionally and personally. So I feel that every single person can do this work, if that's what you're really asking. Each person can do this work by reading my book, and I do phone sessions all over the world with people and see people in person here in Central California. But it's my belief that everybody can do this, absolutely.
Would you speak to the difference between the shamanic practice most anyone can engage in and those best left to someone with years of training and experience?
Yes. A lot of time, I belong to several organizations, shamanic practice organizations, and sometimes people email me and they want me to take a curse off of them, or they want me to, do sort of a love potion, or put some kind of trance on someone, or some, a hex, or that's obviously not what I do, and I think it's somewhat dangerous. I think people have to be very, very careful who they work with, and I have worked with one shaman who didn't have everyone's highest at heart, shall we say. That's the nicest way to put it. So I do believe that people can do shamanic journey work. They can go to the lower world and find their power animal. They can go to the middle world and find their place of power and invite in beings that love them, which you always say, I invite in beings that love me. And they can really go to the upper world also. The upper world is the last part of my book, though, because it takes a bit more practice to do that and to engage in that very ethereal realm in the upper world, but people can still do it. But the lower and middle worlds, everyone can go to and bring back information that will enrich and enhance their lives and even perhaps heal them physically, emotionally, and spiritually. But in terms of, and we're talking about sort of like a curandera who is a healer, but going to someone who's a sorcerer it's dangerous, I feel. So yeah.
There's a fine line between shamanism and sorcery because they use the same principles. So when we come back, when we come back, we're going to have to take a break. When we come back, I'd love to get into the definition of sorcery and shamanism and how you can stay clean while you're doing the practice and not slide into places where we really don't want to go. This is Susan and I will return to our discussion after the news at the bottom of the hour. You're listening to The Science of Magic. I'm your host, Gwilda Wiyaka. Previous broadcasts of thought-provoking episodes can always be found on our website, www.thescienceofmagic.net. We will be back, so don't you go away. The scientist and the mystic have been on an age-old, relentless search with one thing in common. They seek truth. Their paths converge in the 40,000-year-old practice of shamanism, an ancient science delving to the quantum level of life, facilitating healing, manifestation, and evolution. I'm Gwilda Wiyaka, the founder and director of Path Home Shamanic Arts School, a unique Colorado State-certified occupational school training shamanic practitioners and teachers. We also provide classes for empowering personal lives through shamanism. Our certification classes are in week-long segments enabling international participation, and online classes and long-distance shamanic healing sessions are available. Come discover the science of magic in the limitless world of shamanism. www.findyourpathhome.com. Welcome back. This is the Science of Magic, a place where magic and science come together to promote enlightenment. Visit us online at www.thescienceofmagic.net. I'm your host, Gwilda Wiyaka. Our guest this hour is Dr. SUSAN Allison. She's a nonfiction writer and poet and the author of many fine books, including You Don't Have to Die to Go to Heaven. Her website, www.drsusanallison.com. Susan, just before the break, we were promising we were going to tell the difference between sorcery and shamanism and how to keep our work clean. Would you mind speaking to that?
Not at all. Just briefly, it has to do with purity of motive. What is your motive? Why do you want to explore this? And if your motive is for the good of all and to do no harm, then you are going to keep it clean, and you'll know within you. You'll know. And I guess you could say inside your heart, you'll know in terms of your intuition why you're doing it. Shamanic work is for your highest. It's to raise your vibration. It's to find answers, divination about your life. It's to come back from shamanic journeys a better person. In terms of sorcery is about power, and it's about power over others. It's about ego. And it's not clean. It's and if you really check in, you'll know that your ego is in charge. That you want something that someone else has. You want power over another individual. You want to cast a spell. You want a potion to do something to someone. You want revenge. It's not pretty. It's not good for your soul's growth, and it's not good for So that would be my brief discussion about that.
What sort of pitfalls do you see in entering a shamanic practice for the first time?
Pitfalls? Do you mean personal pitfalls, or in terms of becoming a shamanic practitioner in terms of as a profession?
Well, I think we're talking about how to enter it the first time, so that would be on a personal level.
Yeah, I would say it's to have faith that you can do it. I just did a workshop this past weekend, and I had one person there who was completely a novice, and lots of people there who had done other workshops with me. And she did a good job, but she had to keep not comparing herself to other people in terms of their journeys. They got a better power animal, or they had an incredible journey that was different from hers. So I always tell people, do not compare. Do not compare yourself to me, to the journeys that I share in the book. Don't compare yourself to others if you're in a group. And I think it's also to have tenacity that you need to practice it. It's like anything else that you need to practice. And I suggest going to my website and getting a download of a free drumming that people can listen to, and that helps you go into trance, very much like a mantra. So, you get the drumming, you do the chapters in my book, You Don't Have to Die to Go to Heaven, one chapter at a time. You build on your success. So you do the journey to the middle world, which I feel is the easiest. Then you go to the lower world, and then the upper world last, which is a little tricky because you're journeying through the sun's energy to get to that upper world, and you need to build on success. So faith in yourself, tenacity, not comparing yourself to other people who journey.
Very nice. So would you tell us a little bit about the shamanic journey trance itself? What is it and how does it work?
Yeah, definitely. So what you do, and particularly any of your listeners who have ever meditated, you've ever done yoga, you've done something that relaxes you, you've done deep breathing work. So it's very much like that you need to find a time, let's say at least 30 minutes or longer, not to be disturbed. You turn off all your electronics. You sit or lie down. If you tend to fall asleep easily, don't lie down. So you sit up, and you can use my drumming download if you'd like. You can also get CDs of drumming. You can download drumming on the internet, and you should Google shamanic drumming is what you want, not just any drumming. And then you close your eyes. I recommend people use an eye mask, and I have a big basket of eye masks that I use at my groups, and people put an eye mask on, start listening to the drumming, and what happens is the drumming will take you into a deeply relaxed state. I mentioned earlier that your brain is in theta, very, very deep, relaxed state. And basically, I have all these journeys lined up in my book that you do, but for instance, you would imagine your path to your middle world. You would just feel yourself on the path. And I liked how you called it practical shamanism. I call it embodied shamanism because you use all your senses. So you would feel the path beneath you. You would see everything around you. You would feel a breeze on you. So you take your senses with you. You don't particularly leave your body. People think you leave your body when you do shamanic work. You actually are. It's embodied shamanism where you use your senses. So then you go to the place so that is your intention. You set an intention. You go there, and then you bring back information from the beings that you meet, which could be nature. Everything has a spirit, nature, or beings that show up that are human beings or light beings that greet you, and you bring back information. Then the drumming will speed up. You'll tell it's a callback. It'll bring you back to your path, back to the room, take some breath, and then the drumming is over and you open your eyes.
Very nice. Would you mind clarifying what you mean by middle world versus upper or lower?
Yeah, absolutely. So the spirit worlds, and I mentioned earlier that for 60,000 years shamans have been mapping. They've been mapping this spirit world, this invisible world. It's a world that Michael Harner calls non-ordinary reality, and this world here is ordinary reality. So the lower world is a world of animal helpers. It's not to be confused. I was on probably 50 radio shows when my book came out, and people ask me if it's hell. People ask me if it's this bardic sort of evil, kind of very sort of scary place. Of course not. In the shamanic world, the lower world is an ancient, raw, pristine world of nature. It's gorgeous. And, mine looks sort of like the Grand Canyon, even though I've never, ever been there. That's what showed up for me, is a very a non-human, before human natural world. And you'll meet an animal helper there, or more than one animal helper, that you'll bring back information from them to really, really refine your character, become a better person. The middle world is more like our dream state. It's more like it's more like this world. It's again a natural setting, but it's more like this, the most like this world, and it is the most like someplace you would dream when you're dreaming. When you get there, it's your world. I call it your personal place of power. It is a place of refuge that you can go. You can go into trance like a meditation, and you can go there just for rest. The Hawaiian shamans teach people that it's a place that you go once you transition or die or leave your body. It's a place that's familiar, that you know where to go when that happens. So it's a landing place for you. That's yours. Yours, Gwilda, is very different from anyone else's on the planet, and yours is your special place. You can call it your special place. The upper world is a world that's much more ethereal. It has diffused light. Usually the light is just full of light. It's just incredible. And there's more than one upper world. And the upper world is full of angels. It's full of departed loved ones. guides, helpers, your soul family, divine teachers, the Akashic Record Library where you can visit your past lives. It is very different from the other worlds and the most sort of otherworldly. And those are really the three realms that shamans have mapped.
It's amazing how common it is from one practice to the other, from one nationality to the other, those three levels of reality. Some
Absolutely.
may be more some may be more seamless than others, like the Celts are a little more seamless in the way that they do it. But it's just the commonality is just amazing. When we come back, yeah, we're going to have to take another break. But when we come back from this break, Susan, if you'd be willing, I'd like to talk about shamanism in heaven. Does that work?
Oh, I'd love to.
Yeah, shamanism in heaven. Yeah, yep. Instead of the lower world where everybody's scared to death, we'll talk about heaven for a change.
Yeah, absolutely.
Susan and I will be back on the flip side of this commercial break. You're listening to The Science of Magic, the place where altruistic professionals of science and the esoteric create common ground for the betterment of our world. You can always listen to previous transformative broadcasts on our website, www.thescienceofmagic.net. The scientist and the mystic have been on an age-old, relentless search with one thing in common. They seek truth. Their paths converge in the 40,000-year-old practice of shamanism, an ancient science delving to the quantum level of life, facilitating healing, manifestation, and evolution. I'm Gwilda Wiyaka, the founder and director of Path Home Shamanic Arts School, a unique Colorado State certified occupational school training shamanic practitioners and teachers. We also provide classes for empowering personal lives through shamanism. Our certification classes are in week-long segments enabling international participation, and online classes and long-distance shamanic healing sessions are available. Come discover the science of magic in the limitless world of shamanism. www.findyourpathhome.com. Welcome back. This is The Science of Magic, bringing together gifted people of service to the world. Our website is www.thescienceofmagic.net. I'm your host, Gwilda Wiyaka. Our guest this hour is Dr. Susan Allison, a nonfiction writer and poet and the author of many fine books, including You Don't Have to Die to Go to Heaven. Her website, www.drsusanallison.com. So, Susan, how do you not have to die to go to heaven?
Because you can go there right now. You can go into to the upper world, as we talked about in the last segment, and that is your level of heaven. And the reason I call it a level of heaven is that once when I was doing my own shamanic journey work, I landed in the place where I go in the upper world, and I happened to look up, and above where I can go, I saw this golden city, this amazing crystal almost city with light coming off the facets of the crystal, or it was windows, but it was this pure golden city. I mean, it was absolutely took my breath away. And I really got, and I've been journeying for 23 years, but ever since my husband passed away in 2013, I've been journeying sometimes every day, and I would go and be with him there. And so this one visit, I realized I could not go there, that's for souls that no longer have bodies. That's for spirits. That's for someone who's transitioned. You can go to that realm. I can't go there. And so I realized use the term level of heaven. So we all have our own sort of level in the upper world or heaven where we can go. But there are worlds within worlds, as it says in the Baha'i faith. In the Bible, it says, "In my Father's house are many levels when you go there." And I have found several. I have a place that I call the Blue City that's all blue light, where I can go, and I've seen souls that are like holograms. They're light. I've also visited my husband many times there, and he appears in human form, and beings will appear how you need them to. So they'll appear in human form if you need them to. My parents are there. I visit with my mother all the time. I have a soul family there. Socrates is in my soul family, who's always sitting on the steps and teaching, and there's all these beings around him. I have a group of beings I call divine teachers in sacred school that I visit. So heaven, it's your heaven, which is why I said earlier that I have a little trouble with books where people have near-death experiences and they go there and tell you what it's like, because it's going to look like what you need. So your level of heaven, Gwilda, is going to be different from mine and different from everyone else's.
Heaven is a beautiful place, and it can be hard to leave. So
Absolutely.
What advice do you give your readers about how to hold spiritual integrity when you're coming and going? In other words, how do we come back without kind of leaving part of our essence behind?
It's really important in shamanic work that you always set an intention before you journey. And in every single journey in my book, You Don't Have to Die to Go to Heaven, I say you need to set an intention and ask for protection. Now, the protection is just a prayer, and it's not because it's not safe. It's because you're honoring usually beings to go with you. You have guides and helpers that you can invite to go. I have a swan and an eagle that I travel on to the upper world or heaven. I have divine helpers. I have these wonderful guides that go with me, and I always suggest that you go with another being, and you're guidance and you're in humility. So going, you have an intention. You have an intention to go for a certain reason and to come back, because you see your goal is to raise your vibration and become a higher and higher being here, a better and better person every day. So you're bringing back that information for yourself, and as ancient shamans, hopefully for the good of your community, the good of your planet, the good of everyone around you. So this is how to have the integrity. Is it tempting to stay because it's so amazing? Yes. And I kept being told, and you will hear messages. They don't speak with their mouths, but you hear the message in your head. It's very telepathic. But I heard over and over, it is not your time. We do not need you here. We need you there. We need you on planet Earth. You still have a mission. You still have a purpose that we need you to fulfill. Because when my husband passed away, I wanted to be with him. So those listeners who are listening who've lost a loved one, it's very tempting to want to stay there with them. But you will be told in one way or another that you must still walk your walk. You still have to come back and take whatever it is you've been given in terms of guidance, healing, support. You bring it back here to lead even a better life here.
Before we run out of time, Susan, would you mind telling our listeners where they can find your book?
Yes. Usually it's in every bookstore, especially spiritual bookstores, but also they can get it on Amazon and BarnesandNoble.com. You Don't Have to Die to Go to Heaven. And I'm very open to chatting with people who have questions and so on, and they can go to my website, drsusanallison.com, and it'll flip to my email, and I answer every email. And I also do phone sessions for people who would like sort of a boost or a start in this work. I can even just do one session. It would help them get started.
Wonderful. I have about a minute and a half left. Do you have something you'd like to share with our listeners in closing?
I would like to just tell people that everyone can do this work, and it's work that is absolutely, like you said in the beginning, life-changing. It has completely changed my life. It has helped me refine my character, let go of character traits that were not serving me, particularly judgment and arrogance. It really has been incredibly humbling and at the same time empowering. And it's really defined my path on the planet. And I know that it would help everyone who does this work to do that and to just to be happier and more joyful beings on the planet.
That's such a beautiful message. Do you believe that just anyone can do this work, Susan?
I do. Shamans sometimes say that it is passed from generation to generation, and I did have grandmothers that were very gifted in terms of psychically. And I know that it's easy for me to do this work. It's not as easy for everyone, but every single person can do this. But it's a shamanic practice is the reason you use that word. It's a practice, which means you have to work at it.
And is everything literal, or do you have to learn to work with metaphor while you're learning this practice?
Oh, I'm glad you asked that. Metaphor, definitely. So every single thing that happens in the spirit world is reflective of your life here, particularly the middle world. Everything that happens there says something about your life here. If there are weeds, what is it you need to clear in this life? If it's a desert, what is not sort of rich and fulfilling here that you need to add some water to. So absolutely, when you come back from a journey, I recommend people write in their journals and share with someone. That's why groups are so wonderful, shamanic journey groups. But everything in these worlds is metaphorical, and it's meant to bring back and figure out what it's saying about your life here.
Susan, it has been so wonderful working with you, and time flies, and we're just about out of it. So thank you very, very, very much for bringing your wisdom to the people of our show.
You're very welcome. Thanks for having me.
You bet. This has been The Science of Magic. Remember, you can always listen to past thought-provoking episodes on our website, www.thescienceofmagic.net. Until next time, dear ones, may you be blessed with knowledge and comforted with love as you explore the shamanic way.